of this set, and it's going to be Purple taking on Seiko. So again, two very well-known names. Seiko also on Team Genji alongside Deathsy, and we're getting into game number 2 here. Purple took down game number 1.
What is going on?
I mean, we must have missed the mark somewhere. There must have been somebody out there just screaming from a mountaintop, Militia Commander is good in Warrior.
Militia Commander, sorry, not Phantom Militia.
Or what, and I must have been sleeping that day. But it's going to be Seiko on the Hadronox Druid against Purple on the Taunt Warrior, and here we can see illustrated beautifully what we were just saying in the last matchup. The cornered sentry against Hadronox Druid is phenomenal. If the Hadronox Druid wants to win this matchup, they really need to bring back that Hadronox, cube it, have as many powerful boards of taunts as physically possible, because Purple has so many wide board clearing cards. He's got the Brawls, he has the Warpaths, he has that weapon from Scourge Lord Garrosh. So Seiko now having an incredibly inconsistent Hadronox. I mean, that's 6 Raptors in the pool, so it's going to be a 1-in-7 resurrection on Hadronox. Means that if he doesn't hit that 1-in-7, I don't think there's any way he can win this game.
That being said, this is a matchup where Seiko can afford to just drop Hadronox and not kill it himself, because there's no Hex, there's no silence.
Yeah.
At least I don't believe there's a silence. Double checking now. No, it doesn't look like there's any silence in Purple's deck. So he can afford to just drop the Hadronox, and if there's no execute, it can still be cubed and he can still get away with that. But that's a lot of ifs and buts in that sentence. Worth noting, Purple also runs Azalina Soul Thief, which is something we've seen a little bit of in this tournament, at least in the deck list I've been browsing on Twitter. There are a few purposes for that, but the number one thing that I think is relevant in a lot of the matchups is just Taunt Warrior kind of runs out of stuff at some point. It plays the Sulfuris, it starts bashing the hero power, it's played its taunts, it's just kind of sitting there with removal and not many minions left. At that point, it can play Azalina Soul Thief and essentially just draw 8 cards. Yeah, it's whatever his opponent's got in his hand at the time, but maybe that helps out, maybe it doesn't. Either way, your hero power is probably better than your opponent's.
So my understanding is that Azalina Soul Thief was initially in Fury Hunter's version of Control Warrior, specifically to give the Warrior a chance against Control Warlocks that ran Rin. Even then, however, you still didn't really win that matchup because you were behind on seals or whatnot. It was just not good enough.
It's very different here, though. Like, I mean, Quest Warrior does tend to run out of cards, whereas the Control Warrior doesn't. I think it's much more just a resource generation technique. Obviously, in Togwoggle decks, there's a different reason to run. The Toggle? The Togwaggle?
The Toggle Woggle.
You making fun of my accent?
No.
Okay. But hey, look, Seiko did what I suggested the last turn. He just slammed Hadronox, it didn't die, and now he has a huge board full of stuff that's been buffed by branching paths. Seiko, another member of Team Genji, good friends with Deathsy, actually, who we were casting just a few moments ago. And I believe will be the anchor of Team Germany for the Hearthstone Global Games this year. Very, very high point earner.
Very impressive considering Sintalol was such a high points earner last year, actually made it to the World Championships through all of his Hearthstone Championship points. But now Seiko is giving him a bit of a run for his money, but Seiko and Sintalol probably will be teammates on Team Germany, I would think, depending on how the voting goes.
There are a lot of good big names in Team Germany, Cora.
But they're also teammates on Team Genji.
It's going to be a tough one to call. But yes, I would be surprised if, given his World Championship appearance, Sintalol didn't make it. I would suggest you vote for him right now, but the votes are closed, so never mind.
Hopefully you got your card pack.
But yeah, this yes, Cornered Sentry does typically beat Hadronox, but Seiko was able to play it on a turn where Purple had no Brawl, no Execute, no way of getting rid of it, and now this is a board that Seiko cannot deal with. Sorry, the Purple cannot deal with easily. Even if he can Warpath and get rid of Hadronox, there are a bunch more taunts that are going to spawn, and if he doesn't deal with the Hadronox, Seiko could draw Carnivorous Cube and just pretty much win the game.
So the way I'm seeing this go down is Purple will probably execute the Sleepy Dragon this turn after 3 Warpaths, and will desperately hope that Seiko doesn't find Carnivorous Cube, and if he doesn't, then Purple really just needs a Brawl once the Hadronox dies to win the game. But Seiko going to aggressively draw here. If he finds that cube, it doesn't matter that there are 9 little raptors, little dinosaurs in the pool of resurrections, because now Seiko has 1 big board of taunts and 2 more Hadronoxes inside of that cube. So all of Purple's work to deny the resurrections from Witching Hour, to essentially turn those into 3-mana summon a 1/1, that's all for naught. And Seiko's actually going to take the win in what should be a very favored matchup for Purple. He just did not have the resources there. And
he had the opportunity. He thought it's now or never. He dropped the Hadronox and it worked out. I've just been glancing through Seiko's list, and I don't know if these are just some very well-kept tech secrets these guys have had, or if my research hasn't been up to scratch. I think it's the former, but Trog Gloomeater is present in Seiko's Taunt Druid, the 1/5 poisonous minion with Taunt. Okay.
I think that's just a little weird.
I hope so. Apparently, I mean, I was talking to Lorinda and Tyler yesterday, and they were saying that it was a bit of a meme, but some people were taking it more seriously than others. Some even shaman have been running a stubborn gastropod as the 2-mana Taunt poisoners, which you can definitely understand the logic in that.
I can see the gastropod for sure. I don't even pick Trog Gloomeater in Arena. I don't pick it off of Stonehill Defender ever. No, unless I really, really have to. But if there were a deck that it could work in, I suppose it would be this one.
Oh my goodness.
What I am really interested in is Purple won game number 1 with the Taunt Warrior against the Shaman from Seiko. And then Seiko chose to queue this Hadronox Druid into the Warrior, intentionally taking what should be slightly unfavored for him, maybe with the hopes of winning that unfavored matchup because he needed to keep the ball rolling with the Hadronox Druid. Also, I guess Rogue against that Warrior is just even more unfavored. So he was really backed against a wall there and did ultimately get rewarded.
So if both matchups are unfavorable, then you play the one that has a better chance of beating the other deck should you win, which I believe is the route that Seiko has taken here. I'm just staring at that card, Cora. Trog Gloomeater. I've only ever seen it. I've only ever seen it from random effects.
It's not a bad card. 5 mana, 1/5 with poisonous. Ideally, it goes 1 for 1 with something that costs 5 mana or more. Maybe 2 for 1 with some smaller stuff.
In theory, it's just a little bit worse than the Hunter Poisonous Rush card, right?
Oh, the
5 mana, 1/3 Rush Poisonous.
Yeah, something Skitterer, I think it is.
But
yeah,
hey,
that card's bad too.
Well, again, not from Builderbeast, but coming back over and over again from Hadronox, I guess. I can definitely see some potential logic here, and I don't know, it's very exciting to me whenever I see a weird tech card in a deck that I'm not expecting. You know, I can't help but wonder what the potential is, and honestly, I kind of want to go try it out myself right now. Do you want to cast the rest of this game, and I'll go?
Yeah,
I'll let you know how.
Go do what you got to do, Val.
Cool.
But honestly, that's a pretty good point, because a lot of the taunts that the Druid is running are very high health, rather low attack, aside from the Lich King. So maybe you could have some difficulties getting through very large minions on your opponent's side of the board, and Trog Gloomeater could help that. So I see the reasoning for it. We'll have to see if it works out in practice. But I mean, Seiko is a very skilled player. Obviously, if he's bringing it in this deck and is making, you know, a cut somewhere in favor of this card, then he feels that it is warranted. But it's just going to be the Nourish for mana here. He will want to wrap directly into that Lich King if he can. And still needs to find Hadronox, but the second he finds that Hadronox, you know, as long as he has 10 mana, can play it alongside the Natural Eyes.
Strange thing about Seiko is that I feel as though he is obviously a very strong player, but for the longest time, I don't think he was that popular or that well-known. He was sort of a behind-the-scenes strong player. Like, you'd hear whisperings of this legendary Seiko and how he helped this player do this and helped this player do this.
The whispers of the Seiko god.
Exactly. But he is here at DreamHack with his tech choices, ready to make a splash.
I feel like he first came onto my radar not long ago because he made a very powerful popular deck, or some archetype of something. I forget exactly what it was, but I knew his name, and I guess that's all that matters. So Purple is going to burn a couple of cards there. Neither of them were Blood River Gul'dan, I don't believe, so
I don't know much about this purple guy, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of colors in your Crayola crayon box. How important is purple, really? Only one of the OG 7 alongside Orange. Not sure if you've heard of that color either.
No, nor any Hearthstone players with that name.
Purple's a character. He's a great guy. Canadian, obviously, playing for Gamers Origin, I believe, still.
Whoa! Carnivorous Cube on this to survive
Trogs
the
for
Doomsayer.
everyone!
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing. The Doomsayer prevented the Lich King play that turn, but now there's 2 1/5 poisonuses. And what can Purple do about it? This is hilarious.
That's actually really You wanted to play Mountain Giant and a 4-mana cost card this turn, and now can't. So Trog Glue Meter MVP. I'll go throw his name on the trophy right now, I suppose.
What, Trog Glue Meter?
Yes, Trog Glue Meter. Not Seiko, Trog Glue Meter.
Great. What does Purple do? Mountain Giant's unplayable. Humunculus, sort of okay, but get value traded like crazy.
You can play the Giant.
Maybe Gen is actually the best bet here. Just kill this. I don't really want it in my deck anyway.
You still need to kill the second Trog, though. I think that Purple may need to throw away 2 threats this turn. And he did see 1 naturalized from Seiko.
Ooh, that's rough.
He saw 1 naturalized from Seiko, so he could have a read that Seiko doesn't have Hadronox plus naturalize
Cora,
on 10.
there are 2 naturalizers sitting on the board right now, and they're not going to make Purple draw cards.
You've got a point there, Falk. Hadronox in hand now for Seiko. Still no naturalize, and this isn't a matchup where you can just throw down Hadronox willy-nilly. There is silence in the deck for Purple.
There is, but there's also the Witching Hour and no way of preventing that. So it wouldn't be the end of the world in theory. And also, if Purple did just silence it and not then, you know, get rid of the body, then Cube could come down and hit it.
Seiko just elected not to attack with that Trog.
Okay,
maybe...
sure. Keeping Purple's health as high as possible. It's now Purple is now 3 taps away from Hooked Reaver, whereas before he was 2 taps away. Or yeah, so
that's true. If Purple had been at 19, then he could have just tapped and played a Vulgar Homunculus and then played a 7/7 Hooked Reaver. Not that it would really matter because Seiko still has 2 poisonous minions on the board that Purple can't remove.
But let's face it though, like this is a deck for Seiko that wins all at once, right? Like it summons a big board of taunts, then plays Branching Paths, and then kills Purple regardless of his health total. Doing those little bits of damage between 20 and 10 probably aren't going to make all the difference this game. So I actually really like the not attacking there.
Yeah, exactly. The 1 damage is pretty irrelevant, but a 4-mana 7/7 instead of a 4-mana 4/4 could be very relevant. So Seiko just playing it safe, knowing that he's massively ahead, and that, you know, maybe he even can just play this Hadronox down on turn 10. Even if Purple silences it, if he doesn't silence it but also clear it off. Wait, how much damage is this? 10, 13, 17, 18 damage with Branching Paths Swipe Hero Power.
Wow.
1 damage off lethal? 10, 13, 17, yeah, I see 18. With Branching Paths for plus attack twice, either one of the Trogs going over doesn't really matter.
I've reached the same solution to that mathematical equation, Chorus. Hopefully that means we're right and not both horribly wrong.
Hey, Lorinda and I couldn't count to 7 at DreamHack Austin, so I don't know what to tell you.
We don't talk about that.
If I don't talk about it, I'll cry about it. You gotta make light of a horrible situation.
Wow. Electing to trade the Lich King. And okay, he makes the trade with the, goes face with the Glue Meter there, because 18 means that 1 tap is not a Hooked Reaver. So, and as we can see, he is at least partially rewarded for that. Purple does have a Hooked Reaver in his hand. Of course, it only gets its effect when Purple's health total goes to 15 or lower.
Oh my gosh. Purple can't clear anything. He's just dead.
There we go. Seiko with the Trog Glue Meter Carnivorous Cube play on turn 8, winning him that game. And I think the Glue Meters did win him that game. They just prevented Purple from doing anything. It was amazing.
They locked Purple out of playing any and all of his valuable threats in hand for several turns, and Seiko didn't even need a Hadronox board to win that game. He just had a couple of Glue Meters and a Lich King, and it was enough to get the job done. So that's 2 in a row for Seiko with the Hadronox Druid, widely touted as one of the strongest decks in the format right now. And Purple's going to be going up against it with his own Druid deck, although I believe that this is a different Druid archetype, although I just foolishly accidentally closed out of the deck list on Falk's iPad. So Falk, please fix that.
Give me that. Give me my toy back.
Put out the fire. And I think it's token, but I have no way to confirm or deny that. So I guess we'll just find out here very shortly.
All right. And now they beat us to it. It's
token.
It's token.
Aha!
It came up on the screen moments before we got the deck list back ourselves.
Okay, well, this is an interesting matchup. Purple can just go a lot faster than Seiko can in this matchup, and can, you know, if he finds the necessary ramp, go Whispering Woods, Soul of the Forest. Seiko can't clear all of it at one time, and Purple can just win the game.
The Token Druid's interesting because it sort of has 2 win conditions, right? It has the early Violet Teacher Savage Roar win condition with Whispering Woods as well, but it also has, against more decks, I think, it has the late game win condition of just Whispering Woods, Soul of the Forest, I'm going to Savage Roar and Branching Past you next turn for 1,000,000 damage. The problem is with the Token Druid in this matchup is that it struggles with the late game win condition because at that point, Seiko will have a board full of taunts.
I vaguely recall looking at HS Replay and checking out this matchup, and I think it's something like 52 or 53% to the Token Druid.
Okay.
But that may have changed in the last couple of weeks. Either way you cut it, I think it's very close. If this one goes late, it will, of course, favor the Taunt Druid.
I can certainly understand that win rate being the case. But, yeah, okay.
No swipe for Seiko. Purple can just stick this Soul of the Forest.
Savage Roar would be 17 damage this turn.
Not quite enough, but close.
But like you said, Soul of the Forest is looking perfectly good. Now, even if the swipe is picked up, it's not going to do enough.
Seiko's already got these turns queued up. Oaken summons Ironwood, let's go.
It's kind of how I play Hearthstone. Much less successfully than Seiko, but I play way too fast.
Well, I'm playing Hearthstone while watching Hearthstone streams and playing on my Switch and painting my nails at the same time. I'm doing like 6 different things at once. If you ever play against me on ladder and I misplay horribly, my excuse is that I was probably putting on makeup.
Fair enough.
But I was probably just...
Oh, you just got really distracted by what you're watching and tapped out.
Yeah. That's happened.
Right, well, thanks to the double Iron Golem, a bunch of these Wisps are having to trade in, and by a bunch I mean 3. But that does mean Primordial Drake will be able to deal with those 3 minions, leaving Purple with only 2 2/2s on the board after that, which is nowhere near as bad as the situation we were looking at moments ago. And I think Seiko is starting to get over that line now. He's getting to that point where he has a much better chance of winning this.
Yeah, I think he just turned the corner. Sticking the Whispering Woods on turn 4 and Seiko not having a swipe for it could have just been the end of the game in favor of Purple. But Seiko had enough taunts in the mid to sort of get through it. And then, you know, very key, that Primordial Drake, obviously, to finish some of the cleanup. But with that Dragon Hatcher to follow up, things are looking a little bit bad for Purple now. He does have Malfurion the Pestilent on 7, into Lich King on 8, into Ultimate Infestation on 10. Game's not over by any means because, you know, for all we know, Seiko's Hadronox could be buried at the bottom of his deck.
That is true. That is true. I'm looking at this Carnivorous Cube and wondering if there's any merit to just cubing this right now, summoning some more 4/8s and just saying to Purple, good luck getting through this. It doesn't even strictly have to naturalize it this turn. He can just wait for next turn.
It's very rare that you will ever need to Carnivorous Cube a Hadronox more than once. To the point where myself and others were only playing 1 copy of Carnivorous Cube in this deck for a while.
I was as well.
Yeah, you just didn't need 2 of them. But Seiko's putting that 2nd copy in, 1, because you really, really want to find the 1st copy for the Hadronox, but also you've got some flexibility. We saw him cubing the Trog Blue Meter in the last game to, you know, get something on the board post Doomsayer, and we're seeing him utilize it now as well. It's a multi-use tool in the deck that does not just have to be for Hadronox.
And just look at this, another Primordial Drake. So 1 Drake on the board now, 2 Drakes on the board once the Carnivorous Cube gets defeated. Oh, this is just this. Okay, Seiko does run out of stuff eventually. Does Purple actually have the tools to deal with both Drakes? Sorry, all 3 Drakes? Probably. So Seiko will need to get to Hadronox at some point. Or Ultimate Infest. Wait, no, he probably doesn't run out of infestation, does he?
I wouldn't think so. This Lich King is going to have to be very, very strong. And Purple's actually not going to play the Lich King this turn. He's just going to Power of the Wild the board and play cleanup 100% this time around. I mean, 8 mana, Lich King seemed pretty powerful here, but he's going to try to push damage through wherever he can. And though this is maybe a little bit less obvious, I think it's really smart. Because now Purple's putting Seiko on, leaving up 2 or 3 minions and potentially threatening lethal every turn.
Swipe is helpful. He must be tempted to go for the armor here, but I think he's going to have to just resist and just understand that he's in a healthy enough position without it. And what he needs is Hadronox more value generally. Just playing cube on his cube was actually an option here.
That's pretty good.
You get 2 cubes later on, you get 2 Primordial Drakes immediately. And
you have the Naturalize in hand. Hadronox single Naturalize after you've gotten 3 Primordial Drakes in your Death Rattle pool is probably good enough. Okay, yeah, he's just gonna Wrath off the cube.
Why not? And then he can just cube another Drake next turn, right?
Yeah,
naturalize his own cube. Why not? Eventually, Purple is just going to run out of cards. He's not going to kill Seiko at this rate.
Well, Lich King can turn the tides. Army of the Dead's not going to do that.
No, most of Purple's threats come from spells,
horrible.
So.
Frostmourne would have been so good.
The Dragon Hatchers, so Sleepy Dragons everywhere. This is one of the more greedy decks, actually. Seiko is running 2 copies of Dragon Hatcher, but only 1 copy of Sleepy Dragon. So, and it's working out. It's worked out very well.
I personally think that 1 copy of Dragon Hatcher is usually good enough, but Seiko's definitely happy that he's put 2 in his list for this matchup.
The only thing I don't like about 1 is that you get to that point where it's like, right, turn 9 next turn, I'm going to slam my Oak Heart, I'm going to win the game, and then you draw Dragon Hatcher, and it's like, wow, this is so much worse all of a sudden.
Oh,
but there we go. Oak Heart, that should also be an Ironwood Golem, and the
could be Hadronox.
Well, it's going to be a Trog Gloom Eater as well, right?
Yeah, it'll be a Gloom Eater. It would have been Dragon Hatcher, and it can be... No, I think Seiko's played both Ironwoods. This is going to be Hadronox.
There's my boy, Trog Gloom Eater.
MVP. Love him.
I mean, it literally has been.
Look at every other card except for the cube in hand is non-golden for Seiko, but that Trog Gloom Eater, that is golden. He respects this card very highly.
I mean, I do too now. After I saw what it did against Purple's Even Warlock, yeah.
It was better than I ever would have expected. Purple can have a massive Whispering Woods here.
Or better yet, Big Spreading Plague.
Maybe this isn't over just yet, but...
I really don't think it's good enough, though. Like I said, Seiko is now at that late game point where Purple's secondary win condition of just getting a late game board with an inevitable win just won't happen because a board full of taunts prevents that. And now Seiko's got Naturalize and the Witching Hour and Carnivorous Cube. He has all of the taunts that he's ever going to want.
Yeah.
This game is just looking very over to me. Saying that with slight hesitation, because I did also think Deathsea was going to win with his Even Shaman against the Miracle Rogue a little bit earlier.
Seiko, wow, is just going to cube that Hadronox immediately. I'm sure he was looking for, well, double Primordial Drakes is pretty good. I don't think he's got a Lich King in the pool, so it's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, so Seiko's going to do it the other way around. So he's going to play the Witching Hour and naturalize that Hadronox, I expect, at some point, and let the cube do some fighting for it itself and hopefully die sooner rather than later.
Is there a way that purple gets over this? Probably.
If Seiko started to make stupid trades now, then purple would get past it.
Like, should Seiko even kill off these scarabs?
I do like the trade from the Glue Meter at least, I think. But it's really... Wow, okay, he's not going to even do that. Just the Oak Cart. It's really difficult to judge. Oak Cart trade makes sense because its health total does not matter, right? It doesn't have Taunt, so it doesn't matter.
By trading into the scarabs, Seiko just puts more power on purple's board.
Yeah. Well, that's true as well. But only one more power with the one trade shouldn't... He's probably done the maths in his head, right? He's worked out, what if there's Savage Draw branching paths? Is there any way that's lethal? No, there isn't. Okay, that's fine.
This is second Savage Roar.
Well, that's really bad for purple then, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, purple's going to get through this board, and he's going to hope that Seiko doesn't have a way to kill the Carnivorous Cube. We can see that he does. We can see that it doesn't matter because he has Witching Hour and Naturalizing.
Exactly, right. That's the thing. There were several different ways Seiko could have done that. Like I said earlier, he could have naturalized his Hadronox that turn, brought it back with the Witching Hour and cubed that, but he went with the cube immediately. Goes with Witching Hour now, naturalizes. Either way, he ends up with a board full of taunts. It's kind of annoying. There's no way of trading in Oak Heart first, just to get one extra taunt. I mean, that would have been a little bit more helpful.
My goodness, when Hadronox Druid works, it works. And you're seeing the power right here is the reason why this deck is widely considered one of the best decks in the format, if not the best deck. I mean, how does purple have the damage to clear this board, kill 2 Hadronoxes at the same time, and then clear that entire board? And then there's still another Witching Hour in the deck.
He does not.
He does not.
He does not have the time or the power to do that, unfortunately. Violet Teacher, way too late. Needed those really early. And we are just watching as they go through the motions here. Purple is sort of just scrapping at any potential win condition possible.
You know, purple is a player who has been at the top of the pack for a very long time. He's going to play out every percentage chance that he has to win the game. I don't think he has any chance here, though. So he, you know, kudos to him for grinding this one out, but this just was not his matchup to win.
It's funny because we look at the branching paths in purple's hand and think, wow, usually with that board size and that card and the fact that Seiko's hand is empty, if you just join the stream now, you could be looking at this thinking that purple's winning. The problem is Seiko has 2 copies of Hadronox hiding behind that Carnivorous Cube. And that really is why this game belongs to him.
And again, I ask myself, is there a way that purple can clear this board and not let the cube pop itself and not let a Hadronox pop itself? But I mean, purple couldn't even effectively get through this turn and make all of the trades, I don't think. I don't know if the treant went in. Okay, it did. So he did get there, but went right up to the rope.
Oh, Swipe is so good as well against supportive 1/1s. And
Swipe,
Cube
trade
can
the cube.
trade into Violet Teacher easily.
Purple still has that last copy of Whispering Woods. There are no more Savage Roars left. He has the branching paths. Does he have another branching paths even? Maybe? But no Soul of the
possibly.
Forests.
Seiko played a branching paths earlier this game, I remember, but I'm not sure if purple did or not. But here we go anyway. It's going to come down. It's going to turn these wisps into 3/1s, which is a significant amount of power. Is it enough though? Well, remember the Hadronox themselves can trade into the wisps. Seiko could remove all but, what, 2 of them?
Purple's giving it up.
Quite right too. Honestly, that game had been over for a little while, and Seiko dominated it. That early cube play on the Primordial Drake, I think, was genius. You mentioned that it's not always correct to cube Hadronox, and we've seen that firsthand here with Seiko. In the previous game, he played cube on the Glue Meter, the 5-mana 1/5 Poisonous, and that game he played it on the Drake. Both of those lines led to victory. And Seiko, again, he's a very well-known player. He's very good at what he does. I expect a great performance from him in this tournament.
I don't know that I would say it's not correct to cube Hadronox. It's just not always necessary.
Okay, sure.
Especially if you do have 2 copies of the cube in the deck.
Mean, it's not correct to save the cube for Hadronox if there's a better target immediately.
Exactly.
Is a better way of putting it.
Exactly. If you have a Hadronox on the board and you have a cube and you can cube the Hadronox, you probably should because you're probably going to win the game. But chances are you won the game already and maybe the cube could have been more useful earlier on. Either way, Purple taking game number 1 with that Taunt Warrior. Seiko willingly going into an unfavorable matchup with the Hadronox Druid against the Taunt Warrior. There were 9 Raptors in the Resurrect pool for Seiko, and it didn't matter. Seiko didn't even need to play Hadronox in that game to win that game. Well, he played it, but it didn't die. So Purple just getting swept there by Hadronox Druid, and I think that is the first real example we have of Hadronox Druid being a very powerhouse deck in this format. Other times it's been a little bit too slow, it hasn't been necessary, and players still have been like, no, this is one of the best decks in the format.
It's funny because when the Witching Hour first came out with the most recent expansion, there was like a 3-day period where suddenly Hadronox Druid was, and I'm talking before the nerfs here, there was like a 3-day period where Hadronox Druid was everywhere. Plenty of players were just getting to Legend instantly with it because nobody knew at that point how to counter it. But then Tinkermaster Overspark started appearing, Hex and Polymorph started to become more popular, and Cornered Sentry. And we got to a point where it wasn't quite the powerhouse that some people expected it to be. However, it can still do this, what we've just seen, and it can really dominate.
One of those decks that is so fun to play with, not fun to play against. If you're not playing one of those decks that can force a beast into their resurrection pool, yeah, Taunt Druid just feels pretty hopeless to play against sometimes. And it's decks that have that inevitability factor that often reigns supreme in tournament formats. So we're seeing Seiko there with a very convincing 3-1 victory over Purple. Before that, we had Seiko's Team Genji teammate Deathsy with a 3-1 victory over Yarla. So Team Genji looking very, very strong so far here in DreamHack Summer 2018. But then again, it is only round number 2. We've still got a couple of games finishing up out there in the arena. So we are going to have to take a little bit of time while they finish up to generate the rest of our brackets and move on to Swiss round number 3. But the day is going pretty swiftly. We are on par right now. We are going to be playing through 5 rounds of Swiss over the course of the day. So we're going to finish up things out there, and we're going to get into round number 3 as soon as we possibly can.
The first time I became Legend was with Zulok. It was like a couple of years ago, I think, and I was so happy. I showed my dad, I remember. He was pretty proud, I think, honestly, because he plays World of Warcraft as well, which is a bit odd, I guess, but I played a lot together with my dad, and he doesn't play Hearthstone, unfortunately. I couldn't convince him to do that, but we have this tradition of watching BlizzCon every year and such, so it's kind of cozy. On my dad's side, everyone plays video games, and when we're back at their place, we most of the time it's just one big LAN event, honestly, because everyone plays World of Warcraft, Overwatch. Most of the time people play together, so it's not against each other, it's more like they want each other to improve. I think we tried it playing competitively, me and my dad, and quickly decided that it wasn't such a good idea, just for the mental state of the family, I guess.